I'm showing that it's 7 o'clock. Welcome to the February Sand Springs Board of Education meeting. And if you would, please stand with me and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, do we have anyone from the public to sign in?
No roll call.
Oh, roll call. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Roll call, please.
You're fired up, Rachel.
Mullins,
Here.
Hanlon,
Here.
Noggle,
Here.
Wagers,
Here.
Wagnon.
Here. Now, opportunity for the public to be heard. No. All right, so we'll move in to our Spirit Awards. And Mr. Mullins.
I appreciate the opportunity to come and give out awards to students because we've got 3 superstars tonight that I want to ask to come and join me. And I'm going to ask Mr. Whipple to please join me as well. The students that are going to join us are Tristan Brown, Bailey Osborne, and Rafi Huff. So please come join me at the front. These superstars are getting recognized tonight because they were, I'll just read what Mr. Whipple wrote. He said, Tristan and Bailey were selected for the junior high all-state choir. And Raphael was selected for the high school all-state choir. As a member of all the choirs are selected after 3 rounds of auditions. And Raphael was selected to do a solo in one of the all-state songs. Now, we'll give you an opportunity to sing a song tonight if you want. We can do that. So, I mean, that'd be really kind of good, and I can see that she probably don't want to. But what this is, we like to give the awards out. And what it is, it's the Sandai Spirit Award. And what it says is, take that for me, so I can read the whole thing. Thank you, sir. It says, this certificate is awarded to, it's got each one of them's name on it, for outstanding achievements and accomplishments as a Sand Springs Public School student. And then we say, challenge minds, inspire hearts, empower a community of learners. And we sometimes think that learning is reading, writing, arithmetic, social studies, but the arts are extremely important to us. And when we have students that can excel in these things and get recognized, we have teachers that can encourage and take them to competitions and give them opportunities to excel and to make a difference and challenge them. So we appreciate that. So Mr. Whipple, I'm going to let you say a few things about it.
Yeah, and I also wanted to recognize Andy Willis, who prepared Tristan Brown. So thank you, Andy, working with him at Clyde Boyd to get Tristan ready and everything. So super proud. This is like the choir that performs for this is 200 of the best singers in the state. They work super hard. They have to learn, like, for junior high, like 6 complete songs and 8 for high school. They have to know all of that before they even start. And then they do 3 days of very rigorous, agree with me, very rigorous rehearsal to get ready for that, and then put on just absolutely fantastic concerts. So cool.
So I'm going to pass these out. Tristan, you took his card. So. There's also a gift certificate from Sonic in there. Bailey, and you must be Rafi.
Yes.
And I'm going to give you this one because that is what Mr. Whipple wrote. So
Thank you so much.
we'll give you the opportunity to sing. Anybody wants to sing a song tonight? So we don't get this very often. I'll tell a quick story on that since you brought it up. I was so bad in elementary school, I had to stay after school with a music teacher to practice singing. I was so bad, so.
Next we have our Pace Setter Awards.
I used to do this, the all-state choir and everything. That was like 25 years ago. But yes, it is a big accomplishment. I'm very impressed, you guys. That is definitely hard work. Okay, I need Mindy Hall and Jennifer Griffin. Mr. Wyan, do you want to come up too? Mr. Wyan wants to recognize you guys. I always want to say something extra cool and special, like Mr. Mullins, you know, superstars, you definitely superstars, but I'm going to read what he wrote because it's very, very sweet. Mindy and Jennifer are our payroll specialists here at the school, a position that has experienced some frequent turnover in its recent history. When they both took over almost exactly 1 year ago, they hit the ground running. They absorbed any information I could give them, and anything I didn't know they tackled head on independently. The excellence they have shown has been remarkable considering the challenges that their respective positions pose and the pace at which the payroll department operates, especially during the months of June and August. I consider them to be experts in their field of work despite only being in their positions for 1 year. Their excellence is not only in their work efficiency, but also in the customer service that they provide for all Sand Springs Public School employees. I'm very proud to have them on our team, and I hope that they know how much they are appreciated here in the finance department. Congratulations.
So I want to start off by first saying they both love public recognition. So one thing I would say is that I joke with them about them both being type A. Their personalities are so similar. Yeah, definitely not, right? But it suits them for the positions they are in. And to have a good team, you need people in the right spots. And I truly believe that you two are in the perfect spots. And I appreciate you both so much.
All right, and now we'd like to recognize Candy, and I apologize for mispronouncing your last name. Is it Cumlade? Cumlode. Come on now. And she was nominated by Mr. Vivens. Would you like to join us also? And she was nominated for the Pacesetter Award for outstanding contributions and as an instructional coach. And she's had a transformational impact on our district, providing essential support to teachers while fostering a culture of collaboration and growth. Beyond her personalized coaching, Candy goes up and beyond by team teaching when needed, stepping in to assist classrooms, and model effective teaching strategies. Her willingness to jump in and support both educators and students demonstrates her commitment to success in every classroom. Through her leadership, she has helped create a positive learning environment that benefits both staff and students. Her passion for education and her dedication to improving student outcomes make her an astounding candidate for the Sandite Pacesetter Award. Wow. Thank you so much.
I would just say about Candy, she stepped into a tough role replacing Heather Miller, who is a beloved person who our teachers just felt so comfortable going to. And then Candy came in unknown to everybody and has just fit right in. She's so brilliant. I'm serious. She's brilliant. She knows everything. And if she doesn't know it, she attacks it until she does. And that's what we need. And just a real asset for our teachers. Yeah.
Maybe.
I think he really wants you guys to sing.
oaths of our meeting. You're welcome to stay, but if you'd like to leave, feel free.
I thought for a minute they were all going to hang. hoping. Thank you, Miss Arnold.
That's funny.
Yeah, we can, but I know you want to hear my report, Mr. Hoggle.
All
So if you
right,
wanna
item number
move-
6, student
Yes.
environment and empowerment.
So some will recall we used to put just, things to have moments of silence about and reports of, folks in our district that are struggling. And one that is kind of close to my heart, we've had several employees, to be honest, that have struggled with their health this year, but this one was a shock. One of our special education paraprofessionals that I actually hired years ago. I couldn't tell you how many years Terry Lunsford had it in the district, but she was currently working in our special education transition academy, and we lost her to cancer recently. So just kind of a blah coming back from Christmas break with someone that has been very dear to our hearts and worked really hard for our kids with the highest needs. So just thought and prayer for her and her family. The January PD Day, as you know, happened, very productive, great feedback. I have to give kudos to Sean Beard. He really does the preparation for that day and stays with it and works really hard to pull that off. I had to contact him today for some background information for PD, history of our PD, and he was able to pull that data. He's just really amazing. Got back from the AA conference, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot to share with us regarding artificial intelligence really soon. Anyway, so going on, the FFA local show is on February 22nd. You guys, if you haven't been to an FFA show, you really should try to go. Doors open at 8. They serve homemade burritos with FFA food, which is amazing. So it's in the morning, and if Saturday, yeah. If nothing else, go for breakfast. But really, you should stay till the show starts at 9 o'clock, and then you'll see incredible kids showing their animals. I had visit from two young ladies that invited me with a special invitation to the show and was able to capture a picture with them. But I brag about them all the time, but really, if you haven't gone, you wouldn't regret watching those students. The other pretty cool program, the archery program.
They have raffle tickets.
And Mr. Noggle has raffle tickets, so there you go.
No, I
There's a
don't.
silent
They
auction.
do.
They do have raffle tickets.
And there's
Yeah.
a silent auction.
Yeah, there's a silent auction.
Silent auction, they have raffles.
Yeah, it's a fundraiser for our program. You guys have toured, I know, but you understand all the things they're doing in terms of welding. They have a plasma cutter, and so the things that they do and make for community events and people, it's really flat amazing. I absolutely just love that program. Moving on, archery has become a huge deal. They had a tournament at Clyde Boyd Middle School. Kudos to Gina Myers. Somebody remind me to nominate her for a board award myself. She is just amazing. And her appeal to the students at Clyde Boyd, I think we serve about 140 kids in archery now. 8th graders moving up to freshmen, so we're trying to figure out how to move that up to the high school. But nonetheless, Archery Grand State is scheduled for February 19th at the Oklahoma City Fairgrounds. So that's a first time showing at that event. So if you're interested, let me know, and I certainly can give you the details.
That's another avenue for kids to go on to college because they actually shoot archery in college also.
Absolutely.
Another avenue, just like the shooting team for.
Absolutely. So it's just anything we can say yes to, we really try to do that. Draft calendar is a first read tonight. In your packet, you have, we actually did 2 drafts. As you know, we're putting 180-day work days inside the time between mid-August to the weekend before Memorial Day. This was kind of a tight calendar, not much room for variations, to be honest. We started out with 2 drafts. We had a lively leadership meeting Friday. The grand debate was whether to take Martin Luther King off, and it was a pretty large consensus of our leadership team. We got some feedback from some of our folks that we really should respect that holiday, and so we're offering you really one draft for the calendar, which is draft number 1, for consideration. Give you time to think about it, ask questions if you see something that doesn't seem quite, right in it. But we'll ask for approval of that calendar on the March agenda. So I would entertain questions if you have questions about that. Just remember, we keep 175 instructional days, built-in snow days, so that it would be a very rare or a notorious winter if we had to make up any days at the end for very good reason, and then 2 parent-teacher conference days. So we didn't even go down the path of considering anything in deviation from our traditional school calendar for, in my opinion, very good reason. So any discussion, questions about that? Okay. And that would be it for item number 6. If you're ready to move on to 7. So finance strategies, facility updates. There's a lot to talk about in this one. As you all are very well aware, our legislative season started today. I personally am going to make a more concerted effort to try to be in Oklahoma City. Wednesdays are the day of our OASA touch base and our legislative briefings through COSA. There's a lot on the table this year. Probably my biggest concern is the process by which administrative rules are approved. There's a couple of bills to really reverse the process, meaning it would require the legislature to actually vote on each bill for it to become enacted, versus if there's no vote, it would go to the governor for approval. So there's some things, that's just one of them that has kind of my focus of attention, but there's others. If you were listening to social media this weekend, there was some talk about a Senate Bill 1017 regarding special education students and their services, some additional language by the senator that actually authored that bill. So those are just 2 things that we have on our radar, but there's several. So lots to talk about. You'll see attachments with bill tracking that COSA is doing that you guys can inform yourself about. Also talking points from OASA, which is the governing board that I sit on. And then I love the fact sheet about administrative cost. I would challenge you to become familiar and schooled in that department. And then, of course, revenue report and the Vernance Florence article about equity funding. We do know that there's going to be a flat budget this year. There's no doubt. Our revenue streams have been cut in regard to the grocery tax and the tax credits that were implemented last year. So I think the best we can hope for is flat. There's talk. Senator Pugh would like to implement a teacher pay raise to the tune of raising the minimum to $50,000, which is a grand idea. However, it would have to be funded. So I think there's lots to talk about in this legislative season as we kind of peruse into Mr. Wine having developed the first budget of the year, which happens in June. Right now he's going to talk about the second revised tonight, but there's just a lot of things, moving parts going on with state revenue and funding. Mr. Mullins, do you have a question?
Just a couple things I want to add to that I picked up at an OSSBA board directors meeting last weekend. Was a couple of bills that affect us as board members. Is that they said there will be a really high probability of looking at the election cycle for local boards of education, moving that to the November timeframe as opposed to the April, May, whatever it is today. And the concern that I personally have is that could turn it into a partisan type environment, as opposed to it is not that today. And so it might behoove us to reach out to our legislatures. And the School Board Association has a day at the Capitol planned for April the 1st. And I'm going to try to make that, and we'll go visit with our senators, with our Congress, with our representatives and stuff as well, and just let them know that that was one thing that we would be real concerned about, taking that a little close to home, because again, that could change the dynamics of boards and municipality governments and stuff. So just
I think I agree with you 100%, and the last thing we need is to politicize our mission for kids. I think the special education bill sent a lot of people, kind of raised some concerns with some of our local people. And I did comment on one of our patrons and just said thanks for advocating, because it feels good to have people listening to share their opinions and getting concerned and then voicing that. And so I think it got the attention of some of our local representatives. As you know, the speaker is Kyle Hilbert, who represents a portion of Sand Springs. That's a great way to advocate, and he listens. And so I'm really hopeful. Todd Gallagher is one of our senators who sits on, I think, assistant floor leader in the Senate. And some of those positions bear some weight. And so I think it's good for them to hear from us. I'm like, I appreciate that. We always put that out. There have been years where a couple of you guys would go with me to the Capitol on that specific day. We're heading down next Tuesday. I actually have a meeting with Speaker Hilbert on Tuesday. Senator Reinhardt is meeting with me on Friday here in Sand Springs, but it's just an opportunity. So State Chamber is going to a reception. So I personally am trying to get more involved across the board, and I think it would be helpful for you guys that are interested to tag along a little bit. So thank you for that. The last picture was a picture of the Cass building, our remodel here. They've gotten the pad poured. John Connor came in today and said, we think we can expedite the schedule a little bit. So their plan is to start with the capping of the stairwells on the south side by the end of this week to expedite really cutting through the building and making the link. So very excited about that. People are going to start seeing some steel going up pretty soon. So we're excited about it. And of course, you'll have an opportunity to listen. Josh is here from LD Kearns tonight. We have another bid package that needs your approval this evening, and we can either expedite that after this discussion to get him out of here, or we can wait until the end and make him suffer through the entire meeting. But he is here tonight, so Josh, thank you for being here. So any questions about all things legislative, policy, political? Oh, Methodist Church property. We closed on it Thursday, you guys. I'm so excited. That was a long process. It was really good, though. When we met with our team at the facility Friday afternoon, we now have the building secured. So we have our lock on the front door, which is nice, and just starting to build this. I know Cindy Stinson is not in this room, but in the back room. She is working on getting data to the building and then cameras, just getting it secured so that we can start the renovation. So super excited about those things. So that's the end of item number 7, unless you guys have questions. And then I would entertain if you would like to move the construction bid package at the end of the agenda and action to discuss now if you so desire.
And I was just going to comment, I know there were a lot of attachments, but they really did a good job of summarizing what the legislature is looking at and what.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. Do I have a motion to move to, do I need a motion to move to?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, let's move to,
Item number 30.
yeah, 30. Proposed approval of guaranteed maximum price amendment number 3 bid for Clyde Boyd Middle School.
Madam Chair, I'd like that in form of a motion to approve the GMP amendment number 3 for Clyde Boyd in the amount of an addition of $1 million to make that $6,996,058.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Vote, please.
Mullins,
Aye.
Hanlon,
Aye.
Noggle,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
See you.
Thank you, Josh. They made it easy for you
thank you.
tonight. Yeah.
I think it'll be not the next board meeting, but the
April.
April, we'll have the totality of the bid package.
So your GMP will grow immensely at the April meeting.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thanks, Josh.
Yes, thank you.
So moving on to item 8.
Now we'll go back to item 8.
Perfect. This is about empowering families and communities. I added a link for the Charles Page High School blood drive. We get this information from the Blood Institute periodically. I think they do a couple a year, but I love this because they came and visited and brought us, I don't know if it was an award or just kudos at one point last year, but they always comment on Charles Page High School and the success rate and how we rank in terms of a successful blood drive, specifically based on the number of students we have in comparison to, say, a place like BA and how much we get. So I just think it's a symbol of our community for the public good and the larger community. I think that's pretty cool that we ranked 4th. So I love that. I just thought that was fun. Coffee with Cabinet was Monday, the last Monday in January. Mr. Mullins, thank you for coming. There were 3 folks that attended. I don't really care how many. 3 is better than 0. 1 is also good. 10 is better, I suppose. But it was interesting because all 3 of those parents were not raising their own biological children. So that was even, to me, a signal that regardless, people care about how we're doing. 1 was a great grandmother, you guys, and raising 2 children as a young mom is hard. Raising 2 littles as a great grandmother, I can't even imagine, but she had more energy probably than we all had put together. I loved her reflection. She was super complimentary, had some wrinkles at ECEC, but did comment about how we stepped up to make it happen for her kids. So that was fun. And then the other 2 are fostering children at Sand Springs. And again, just lots of kudos about how we take the responsibility of making sure kids get what they need. I say all that because pairing with kind of the rhetoric that came out this weekend, our responsibility is to make sure every single kid has the services that they need, and I think we do a fantastic job. Love that Carrie Schellhuber leads, I know you're loud, but it's the special ed. It's really the heart for kids that need it the most, and I love that about Carrie. And so it's just fun having people talk about how good we were doing, and the fact that they deemed Miss Lee guardian angel was just fabulous to top it all off. So it's good. Chamber banquets coming up really quick. February 20th, we will have a table. So if you're interested in attending, I know Ms. Hanlon will be there already, but shoot me a text or an email and I can get you all signed up for that. LD Kearns has offered to give us 6 seats at their table, so there's plenty of room for all. So we'd love to have you there enjoying a little bit of food and a little bit of camaraderie with the greater chamber and of course our businesses. It always looks good.
And it is the Great Gatsby
It's the Great Gatsby
theme, so you can come dressed and make it extra fun.
I think we might take advantage. We're going to see. Kristen and I have been kicking that around. So, she's all into dress up and such. So, I feel like.
Well, I will be dressed up, so.
She has also she orchestrates a lot of the ideas for Halloween costumes as well. So, there are different skill sets that Kristen Arnold has. I'm stopping there. Stop. She's shushing me. Okay, that is it for community. Unless you have questions. Dress up. I'm sorry, it's just true. So there's that. It has been a long day. I'm going to add that. Okay, item number 9, if you're ready to move on.
Health and safety.
Yes. So you're going to see first read of our drug testing policies under item number 29. It's interesting when there are things that arise that cause us to really reflect on drug testing or any policy for that matter, but this one in particular. We did a pretty deep dive into our existing policies and had a couple of consultations with our attorney. We're discovering that RFR has their own subset of policies, and so it's interesting when you are working with them, you have access, and so we've been doing some comparisons between that and the policies that OSSBA offers, all good as well. But really the shift, and you'll read them, it's first read, we're not in any hurry to get those approved, but really getting and delving into making sure we're clear about what safety-sensitive positions are. They were a little vague, I think, in our current policy that we're using now, but that really does, we tried to create craft language to include more, because obviously school is safety sensitive for most things, but specifically like kitchens, which wasn't included. Kristen, did you want to add any comments?
Well, and I just wanted to say to the board too, that when we did that, most of the time we do use OSSBA. And so, you know, with the discussion with you, we labeled that at the end, RFR. So, in looking at policy, if you see that in a school district policy moving forward, that means it came from RFR, and then we're not calling OSSBA to say, hey, what's your updated policy? Not that we can't add to those, but just so the board knows where that came from.
Right.
That was kind of a decision, like, how are we gonna know? Because
Well, and especially employee-related policies, whereas there could be some sort of conflict and we would have to rely on our attorney for advice and guidance. And so we just want to make sure those are the folks that represent us and we do it clearly. So that was the reason. And
Back to
again,
Kristen's comment, do we house the policies here or are they housed in the cloud at OSSBA?
both.
So the ones that are RFR policies that are in the OSSBA cloud, they accept those as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, and any changes that we would make in an OSSBA policy, we can blackline those and add our words anytime. So it's just a matter of upload. We pay for the policy subscription.
Right?
So they keep an online manual. However, Beth maintains also a hard copy, mostly because we got into a predicament a couple of years ago where that policy, online policy source went down, and the public didn't have access for a while.
But we make it available on our webpage.
That's correct.
That the public can go see at any time.
Absolutely.
And the one that the public goes to then is the one that Beth keeps track of? Okay.
Is replicated in our office in a hard copy format. It's pretty big. It's big, thick binder.
I just want to say too, that sometimes when you look at policies and it has misspelled words, that is not us. I mean, occasionally it is when you're reading, but I'm just telling you what happens is when it goes to OSBA, it scans the document, and so sometimes it'll pull the word and spell it wrong. It's kind of like your text-to-speech type thing. So when it pulls it, if it has a misspelled word or something like that, let us know, and we just let them know. But that's not how we're sending it in. So just know that. Occasionally that happens.
Right.
Because we'll read stuff that doesn't make sense, because it just pulls it from all the words on the page. So.
It gets lost in translation. Beth?
And I will say that what's on our website, that's a third-party hosting through OSSBA. They control all that.
And there's sometimes we find if we submit it, there's a delay in their posting. So we really kind of have to watch it because we've gone back to look for what we knew we had approved and it didn't appear. So it's a work in progress for sure. So there's been times, go ahead, Beth.
And I do have a hard copy.
Right.
We've decided to keep
Right.
a hard copy.
Do we have archived files? Go back to what the policy said in 1970?
Only if
Not that I
we
ever
were
want
to
to.
pull board agendas.
Okay.
Yeah. That's pretty tedious to keep paper that long for starters, and they're not applicable. So I'm not sure why you'd need to have that knowledge, but you could pull old board documents. And then last, the safety committee, I just want to make a note, did not meet in January. Their next meeting is February the 6th. We have been dealing with a lot of flu. In fact, one of the questions today was, what is the trigger point in which we would call school because of sickness? And my answer was if we can't staff it. So our ELC closed down on Friday because we did not have enough teachers to manage the babies and ones. And so we had to shut that program down. So again, and that wouldn't do it unless we just don't have enough staff members to provide supervision. We got pretty close. I think Charles Page had quite a few people gone today. And so we're just going to keep a close eye and see. But as long as we can staff it, we'll keep schools open. I know some districts were closing because of the.
Edmond Public Schools was closed Friday totally
Right.
because of that.
Exactly.
What is the total number of staff that would have to be gone?
People ask that all the time. You could say 20%. I could throw out a random number, but it really comes down to, do you have the coverage? And so there's ways to combine classes sometimes, or kind of restructure planning periods you can utilize. 20% is probably a good number to throw out as a kind of a, oh no, 20%. But tomorrow's leadership meeting, we're going to cover, when you get to a place where you absolutely cannot cover. It's a weird conversation, because if you'll remember, during the whole pandemic era, we were at that place where, do we have enough staff to cover? And I would have to go back in the archives to see, but we didn't really call school out much because of lack of staff. It happened a few times, but not very many. But this has been a really hard flu season, so.
That was part of the conversation at the meeting that I went to on Friday with HR, like what is that spot?
Mhm.
And Edmund was there, and part of their conversation was because they had 10 bus drivers out, so you can't provide transportation. And then there was another school that had a lot out, but they contacted the principals and said, we're gonna make it work, we can make it work, because it's just, the teachers and support staff are, and so I think some even went to other sites to kind of help out where they could, but just kept them in school. So, but, and part of that was.
Well, bus drivers were a little bit of a consideration. I'm not gonna lie, on our last snow day, because we had, how many drivers, Eric? 7 called in. So if you can't get them to school, it's really hard to have a school, so. Any questions about health and safety?
On to the consent agenda.
There's a couple of items I just want to point out that are a little atypical. Item number 13, it's not atypical, however, there are a couple of activity funds that are just old projects that needed balance shifted to another project, one specifically Glide Boyd, and then budget revisions, as you know, that the board has to approve a budget, and so if those change at any time during the year, those are also presented to the board for approval. So questions about number 13? Number 19, I would just again remind you of the Chamber Awards Banquet, February 20th. It starts at 6 at the downtown DoubleTree, so just another reminder to let me know if you would like to attend. I think that may be all. Nope. And then the calendar draft is item number 24. And you have draft 1 as the consideration that you have in your board folder.
I did see on there that Wednesday, October 15th was not, I know usually we
Correct.
have 3 days.
That's
so
correct.
What's the reasoning?
So
for that?
I'm looking at draft 2. Hang on, let me pull it. Okay, so I'm looking at draft 1, and remember there's the 30-day rule for starting school that affects school funding. And so because we started a day early, we started on the 19th last year, that day pushed up to the 20th because of the shift in calendar. So we had one day we had to figure out how to get students at school. So that was one day we had to quote unquote fit in between the start of school and Memorial Day. And then we had the great tug of war and really conversation leadership about, do we want to mimic the calendar we had this year, in that we held our professional development day on Martin Luther King, and students are coming in February during President's Day. And that was a little, I wouldn't call it contentious, but there were a little bit of concern about that last year. So to get the 2 days back, in other words, the day before school and Martin Luther King, we had to rearrange when parent-teacher conferences would be recognized. So we had to move those triangle days that you typically see on the 15th of October and the 13th of March to a day that they were already out. We get to count them as a day of instruction because it's a makeup for the parent-teacher conferences, but there is no way we could have gotten 180 days inside the calendar from August 20 to May 22nd. So the big message to our folks is, because I think that confused people last year when that was an example calendar, because they saw the triangle on those 2 days and felt like they had to work. So those are days off, but students will have to come the 15th and the 13th, the 15th of October and the 13th of March. So this gets 180 work days in the calendar for teachers, including 5 professional development days and 175 instructional days in the calendar. So it's a traditional calendar that's driven by our policy, first and foremost, but also by state law. And then, of course, minutes, we have enough minutes accumulated that it would be a very rare occasion we'd have to make up days at the end. So,
Plus, I mean, this is also, I mean, because they're getting the whole week of.
correct. That's correct.
We didn't do that again. then
Correct.
You could have those other 2 days again. so.
Correct. That was a trade-off, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right. So, I mean, I'm not going to predict in next year, but every time we say calendar, Kristen and I want to go hide under a rock.
Yeah.
But next year may be a little tricky because the start date will be the 21st. And so we'll see how that translates. But in an effort to be, in my opinion, show good faith to provide the instruction for kids, I think our families expect it. We're going to continue to put the 175 days in the calendar. So that's where we're at. And by the way, that interprets into 173 face-to-face days because 2 of those are parent-teacher conference days that are allowed by law. So,
Mr. Eric, I just want to share my appreciation that we haven't had a discussion about 4-day school weeks like some other districts have been inclined to pursue. I like the 5-day school week. I hope that we don't ever
I do
sway
too.
from that.
Agreed.
So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I've talked to multiple parents who working parents mostly that really struggle. I think Ms. Wagers, you were the one that commented about having a friend with twin boys at home on a Friday, and she said that's a disaster. They need more supervision than your littles because they're just twin boy 8th graders, middle school, and so it's a real problem. And I know at least one of you has experience with DL days in another district, and it's just, if I'm going to say that we're doing a full day of instruction, then I just feel like we need to be delivering that and doing it with integrity. So anyway, again, I would respect my colleagues that would have a different opinion. I totally get it for various reasons. Different districts do different things. But for us and our families and our constituents, I feel like that's necessary.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I think that's it, unless you guys have any other questions about the consent agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Vote, please.
Aye.
Hanlon,
Aye.
Noggle,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye. Okay. On to the action items. Item number 26.
I make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss both employment recommendations and the evaluation. Thank you.
So items 28 and 26.
Yes, items 28 and 26.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Mullins,
Aye.
Hanlon,
Aye.
Noggle,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
7:43.
See that thingamajiggy in here?
Mike has it. Mike has it.
Oh, the green thing? Oh, okay, because I have one in here too. Okay, good. Glad he has it.
Oh, that one, no, he has the sheet to fill out.
Oh,
That's just the one we have to say when we get back.
yeah. We're now back in session, and the time is, what time is it? Oh, my thing just went off. 8:38. And we discussed the evaluation of the superintendent. No other matters were discussed, and no votes were taken.
I move to approve employment recommendations for the 24-25 school year.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Vote, please.
Mullins,
Aye.
Hanlon,
Aye.
Noggle,
All right,
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye. All right, let's see, are we, number 29, I believe, right? The proposed approval of the district's second revised budget.
So that would be Mr. Wyan.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Oh, what did I miss?
Oh.
Yeah, we had to approve the employment.
That's what she.
That's what I did.
Oh, I thought you did?
Yeah, and I second
The
that.
employment, right? You did the employment, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because we don't have to vote to go back into session.
Because we did 26 and 28.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we are on 29, right?
yes.
Okay, so this should go fairly quickly. There are big changes that happen when we end the year and present the original budget, and then from the original budget to the first revised, but from the first to the second, there are not that many big changes, so I'll try to make this as quick as possible for you all. Fund 11, just highlighting some of the bigger numbers here. Local sources of revenue holding strong. We're looking at interest earnings being a lot healthier than what we expected, so that's great for our general fund revenue. If you look down at intermediate sources of revenue, that section, there's no material change from even last year's actuals to the original budget, first and second revised. And then the big change on Fund 11 revenue would be just depending on what happens with the federal sources. So if you look down at the codes that are the 4,000 codes, since federal money is mainly on a claims basis, that just depends on how much we actually claim for the year, and some of those claims fall in next fiscal year, actually. So that's the most fluid part of the general fund revenue. The only other change would be on the fund balance down at the bottom on 6,000, and those are just POs that were encumbered but not spent on, so they end up getting closed out and reopened in the new year. So you see a little bit of an uptick on the 6,000 from the 6,000 code from 9.9 to basically an even 10. I mean, we did a really good job of closing out POs last year, all things considering, so not a big jump from those two. And then we're looking at total revenue of about 56.6, depending what happens, so pretty strong on general fund revenue. On expenditures, if you don't have any questions on the revenue side.
I just see that on that federal thing, Mr. Wine's kind of impressive that we lose $1.9 million. That is not funded hardly at all this year, but we have a larger, also nice job on other revenue sources.
Yeah, I would give the praise to Carrie and Claudia and also Lauren Rowley. I mean, that's their worlds for sure, and they've been a big help on developing this. So when one goes away, you find other grants to help fund things. So. All right. If you look on expenditures for general fund, if you just look at the bottom line, I mean, you can get lost in all the coding, and a lot of these are just actuals that are inflated a little bit to give us room to work as we still have 5 months of the current fiscal year. I mean, we have to have authority to spend, and we don't want to have any unnecessary revisions. So you look at that bottom number of 48.5 million, we wouldn't expect to get to that point. So a better guess educated guess would probably be around 47 for that bottom number. But it just allows us to not have to worry as we work into May and June for expenditures. So, because at the end of the day, we as a district cannot spend more than you approve as a board. So we fluff that bottom line a little bit to not go into our carryover a whole lot, but also to give us the authority to spend as we get to the end of the year. So that would be the main point that I would make on general fund expenditures. If you have no questions, we'll move on to co-op. So co-op is our Fund 12. The big change here, if you look at code 3310 at the top, we've got our allocation for alt ed this year, so that's an actual that we should get from the state. And then federal money goes away for Fund 12. And then we have a little bit of a correcting entry on 5,000. It says non-revenue receipts. There was a deposit made in May that went into Fund 11, and then I checked with our auditors, and they basically said you just need to cut a check from 11 to 12 to reimburse that. So that's that 70,000 there in the 5,000 series. But Fund 12 expenditures, there's no material changes from the second revised compared to the first, or really even the original budget. All right, we'll go into building. I'm going to cruise through these other ones. General fund's the most, probably the most scrutinized and the most looked at as we get this second revision finalized, but these other ones will go really quickly. So Fund 22, the biggest change here, or excuse me, I skipped 21, didn't I? So Fund 21, the largest difference here is in the Redbud funding, which is very healthy. It's been a huge help for us in our building fund, and we're looking to net close to 200,000 more for that line item in revenue, which is great. That is, yeah, that's the code 3000 state revenue. It's been a huge help to our building fund. Honestly, that's been the last 3 years, I think, that we've had Redbud funding. And last year we had about 1.4, as you can see on the actuals, and we're looking at close to 1.6 this year. So, in a fund that doesn't get a lot of funding, that really helps. Yeah. If you look at expenditures, the main thing that I would note on the expenditure side of building fund is that we have used the full amount of the city's contribution to the admin entry, which is nice. We appreciate that partnership, and we're grateful that we were able to expend those dollars in a timely fashion. So, and that's reflected down there on the expenditure side on 4,600. The only other notable line item would be 4,200, and that was for the Methodist property. And that is an actual amount that was just wired out this past week. On to child nutrition. Child nutrition, the biggest change here on the revenue side of things is just a correction on how we deposit interest earnings. So if you look at the top, 1,300, there's a huge jump from actual for last year, original and first revised, to second revised. And then if you look down at the 1790 series on that same section, it basically is zeroed out. That's a correction that we're trying to make. 1799, which has been used for deposits for child nutrition, doesn't exist this year, and it didn't exist last year. So it's just a correction that we're making. We just realized that OCAS has hundreds of pages of financial coding, and so it's not unusual to miss something, but just a correction going forward.
Is the 1710 just because we're not charging for student lunches?
That's correct. That's a result of that CEP. Yep. But if you look down at the 6,000, that prior year, the carryover amount, that carry forward amount, the fund balance, we're still looking at having a healthy fund balance despite losing that revenue. So that's encouraging, I think. And there's not really much to talk about on the expenditure side of things here, other than just, like I said, making sure we have the authority to spend as we work into the last 5 months of the year, so.
We're not getting close to having too much in our carryover than child nutrition to get penalized, or
I don't,
No.
no, there's, no. I spoke with Sherry Pearson this morning in terms of the CEP. There's a lot of rumbling at the federal level about, do we continue CEP as it works now? Or are we gonna require families to fill out a free and reduced form for evidence? There's just some things that are kind of brewing. I think she is cautious going into next year in terms of continuing the free and reduced or the free lunches for everyone and breakfast. What we are seeing is a collection from federal higher because kids are eating the lunches. I was talking to two of our principals last week, as much as maybe even 90% in any given day of the kids eating, because 3 options constitutes a full lunch. And so we get that reimbursement for it. So we'll see how the numbers play out. I think in her thinking, we knew we were going to dip potentially into our carryover in that fund based on the change. So we'll see. It's to be determined, but I know she is watching that very closely. So just FYI. But the improvement of students eating in the cafeteria has been a real plus.
recognize if we get close to it, go buy something, right?
Right. Well, they have a little saying 3 for free. And so if the students pick 3 certain choices, then we get to count it. So they'll bring their lunch and they'll pick 3 for free. And anyway, it's an interesting deal, but it's certainly beneficial to the families.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is they are kind of their own separate worlds as far as carryover goes. OCAS allows you to take that out. And Fund 11, our general fund, that's the big one to keep an eye on and make sure we never get to that percentage, that 17% threshold. So.
Nutrition will have the same stipulation, you have a maximum you can carry over.
There might be, but I don't think we're close to that amount. And Ms. Pearson would know that as well, as she takes care of really all of that revenue and expenditures in her world. So, all right. Bond funds, if you go to the bond funds tab, the only difference that I would note on this is on the 6,000 code on revenues, that's really an actual for what we have. That includes any encumbrances that we closed out and moved to the new year. But everything stays pretty stagnant on bond funds from a revenue side of things because we know what we're getting for the original budget, and it doesn't change. So you don't see much of a change there other than just reflecting what we actually have in our software for the balance. The expenditure bottom line, that is what, if you pulled a budget analysis in our software, you would see that exact number. So now I'm not taking into consideration what we're going to get in June because we're not going to spend that money that we get in June until the next fiscal year. So I'll add that to that original budget. For funds 41, 81, and 86, I would be glad to answer any questions, but they stay very, very similar to the first revised budget as you go through those. And kind of for the same reason. They're a little more stagnant. Insurance fund is dependent on, if we have any natural disasters or windstorms or something that kicks up, but gift fund and sinking fund, we kind of have a really good idea of what we have and what we might spend. So, and gift fund is very inflated just so we can, if we had to maximize those dollars, we could. We should never get close to that amount,
Any other questions? I appreciate the notes. They're very helpful. Thank you.
Very much.
Madam Chairman, make a motion to approve the second revised budget for the 24-25 school year as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Vote, please.
Mullins. Hanlon.
Aye.
Noggle.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye. All right, we did number 30, so on to any matter not known about which we could not reasonably foreseen prior to the posting of this meeting.
No, but I do want to make a comment about item number 30 before we leave the meeting. Josh texted Milburn. He said he misspoke, and I thought I wasn't going to correct him, but the balance of the packages should be ready to present in the March meeting. So we should get a bottom line number by March. So he said April when he
Yeah,
was
he said April.
when we was here before, but we should know.
18th of February.
18th of February, I believe. Bid package opening. No, bid package goes out, but we're usually, we cut it close. He's getting that bid package into Beth the Friday before the board meeting, but in this particular instance, we are running on a tight schedule, and which is the reason we broke it down, because we needed to start. So we have I keep telling them, we have a deadline. It's called Kids Come to School in August of 26. So, in an effort to get that schedule succinct.
Too, that if that is kind of too close on the bid date, then we could have a special meeting.
We could,
after.
yeah, absolutely,
Oh, yeah, that's a good thought.
absolutely.
No.
And so there's no announcements.
Any-
Oh. No.
I'm not sharing out. They know about it. I've already communicated, but thank you. I know. We'll talk about that. We're avoiding that conversation.
We're excited. We really are excited.
Right.
She's a great representation
great-
of our school.
Well, thank you,
Right.
Kristen. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those moments of, yes, sometimes it's worth it. You
Yeah,
know,
for
it's
sure.
like, and we're so fortunate to have Ms. Durkee to be able to lead in these challenging times that we're in, and to do such a great job. And the state recognition is absolutely
Well, thank you.
well earned.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what Ms. Durkee tells us is she doesn't do anything by herself. She
Absolutely.
Right.
has staff, so.
You build capacity, that's for sure.
Never said that.
I never say that.
Especially setting up the surprise Zoom.
She pulled. I did. You'll have to peruse Facebook to see the wrap of Christmas. Oh my gosh. I had nothing to do with it.
I'd like to move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right. I have a motion, a second. Vote, please.
Mullins.
Adjourn.
Bo always makes it sound.
I was letting someone else.
She beat her, or beat him.
Mullins.
Aye.
Hanlon.
Aye.
Noggle.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.